Mike, thank you very, very much for that very kind introduction. To Fred Carroll, who originally, and of course Claire French, brought me into this project. I have played a modest role. You guys have been the leaders, and I want to thank you for your vision, for your tenacity, because it is very important that we remember. You know, I want to thank InfoAge for preserving the extraordinary, rich history of scientific breakthroughs coupled with implementation and applications, often done in extreme secrecy, despite what the Nazis tried to do in garnering secrets here and others, to tell a story about how American ingenuity helped procure victory in World War II. It didn't just happen. The soldiers on the battlefield certainly endured horrific sacrifice. My father fought in not only the Philippines, but in New Guinea. But because of what was done here, he and his fellow Army and Marines and others were greatly enhanced in their ability to communicate, to have radars that would detect. You know, when William Gold was talking about earlier his father going to the West Coast, what a difference it would have been if the radars that were on Hawaii that detected the incoming Japanese planes 50 minutes before they hit Pearl Harbor, if only the person at the other end had received that message, that actionable message, and done something, the cause of history would have changed dramatically as a result, and the loss of life at Pearl Harbor would have at least been mitigated, if not eliminated. That could have been turned into a victory potentially, but certainly not as bad as it was. You know, when I heard each of the family members, and of course Willie Johnson, all the new inductees into the Wall of Honor, I can't tell you how inspiring it is to hear your stories, to read them. I read them all. I didn't know it walking in the door. But that's why a Wall of Honor is so important, that people know and understand the genius. Earlier, Tom Crowley and I were talking, and I said, you read these stories and learn what these individuals did, individually and in teamwork, and you realize, he goes, it's genius. And you recognize genius that had very, very positive consequences for democracy, for the world. And three people today, and Willie, when Bob Dotto was talking about your car, my brother had a VW who's now on the board back in the 60s. It had no floor, and the water used to shoot up, so we used to call it the Fred Flintstone car. But it really was great to hear you speak, and of course, the daughter and the son of two of the honorees today. What an amazing story that you tell. You know, I have a much longer speech. I was told 10 minutes. I will reduce it to 3, primarily because I learned a lesson recently. I do a lot on Lyme disease, and I've written laws on Lyme disease. So I was invited to give a keynote at the Lyme Disease Association of America's major event. 1,000 people, lots of young people were there, and families. And at the end of it, I said, first of all, how long do you want me to speak? They said an hour. I took the full hour, big mistake. A little girl came walking up, and 4 years old or so, and she goes, "Mister, your speech was long and boring." She spun around and walked away. A minute later, her father came up and said, "No, I saw you talking to my little daughter, Melissa. I just want you to know she's at that awkward age where she just repeats whatever she hears." So I will conclude what happened here at Camp Evans. And again, listening again to Bob Dotto speak and all the wonderful speeches tonight, it becomes very clear that Camp Evans is more like family than coworkers. Everybody having each other's back. And that is so inspiring. And I think that led to the synergy that led to the breakthroughs. Not only genius, but people who really liked working with each other and making a difference, patriotic to the core on behalf of democracy and our troops. But let me just conclude by saying InfoAge should be thanked profusely for preserving all of this, for caring so much, for allowing all of us to respect and appreciate the wonders that were once accomplished here, and to ensure that this legacy is preserved and shared in perpetuity. Thank you so very much.